So my name is Atit Siamporn. I work for Siam Commercial Bank as the SVP of Business Platform. Siam Commercial Bank is the first bank in Thailand and the largest bank here in terms of total asset. Previously, when our customer would like to transfer the money to their family and friends abroad, it was very inconvenient. They have to visit our branch, they need to fill in lots of forms, they need to wait probably 3 to 5 days in order for their friends and family to receive the money. And they have no clarity at all whether they already received the money or not. With RippleNet, we can offer a real-time money transfer to those countries. We will have full clarity once the beneficiary already received the money. It will be a notification through their mobile app, which they will receive right away. And this creates lots of peace of mind and change the customer experience completely. Partnering with Ripple, we can expand our reach through remittance companies around the world. So now we're working with one of our partners to create something new in the market. Imagine if you are a tourist that you will come to Thailand and you can use your home country mobile application and scan for payment in Thailand. You don't have to exchange for local currency that you will bring to Thailand at all. You can use your mobile app, acting like you're living in your home country, scan for QR payment, and you receive the goods right away. This creates a new customer experience that never had before. And with the partnership with Ripple, we can do this and we can provide this service to our customers.
My name is Camille Zhang. I'm a business development manager at Conant Transfer. Our company, Conant Transfer, is located in Seoul, South Korea. As a retail remittance service, we launched Cross, the first blockchain-based remittance service in South Korea. We launched Cross in October last year, and then we adopted RippleNet December of the same year. Once we start using Ripple solution, there's a lot of good partners in RippleNet. They have also good understanding and also passionate about the blockchain solutions. When we work with our partners in RippleNet, we can easily integrate with the solution, and also the operational cost it's getting lower because we have the same level of understanding. We can use the unified format of the requesting the remittance, so we can easily connect with our other partners. And then our first corridor was Philippines and Thailand, and right now we are having over 12 corridors at this moment. We are having a big growth at this moment, and for a year from the launch, we are having average monthly growth rate over 50%. And the interesting thing is our customer retention rate is constantly over 80%. On RippleNet, at this moment, we are connecting 4 partners for a year, and then we are contacting over 10 partners at this moment. Right now, our main customer segment is foreign workers, but we want to have a new customer segment, which is the Korean. The purpose of remittance would be the sending living expenses or tuition fee. So in that case, we are looking into the developed country, including America, UK, Hong Kong, and Singapore. So hopefully we can connect with the remittance company who are providing those corridors through RippleNet.
Ripple is the market leader addressing this specific use case of global payments. And currently, as you can see on this slide, there are more than 50 financial institutions in Japan already implementing Ripple for both local payments between those banks and also for enabling cross-border transactions, as Japan is one of the markets where sending money to is more expensive to senders. And in parallel, we are seeing also traction in the market in other geographies, in the European Union, in the US, and many other countries. Many financial institutions are already adopting the technology and buying the software for core banking and infrastructure integrations so that they can service their customers making use of this distributed layers technology that is already mature enough for real life transactions. As we are seeing and we are about to see in the next few years, and this interconnectivity between networks is also gonna happen thanks to a global liquidity marketplace that is currently being built that will enable financial institutions, payment providers, and corporates to make use of this global open and neutral liquidity marketplace that any financial institutions will be able to access to have on-demand liquidity for local payments in different currencies.
Actually here we're looking at the financial crisis and the challenge on liquidity, the fact that a lot of the regulators now are very cautious in terms of allowing financial institutions, in terms of areas like Basel II, Basel III, to be able to operate without sufficient capital adequacy and liquidity. The ability to build a global liquidity marketplace for this industry could have massive ramifications in terms of reducing risk. So, certainly going to be top of mind for the regulators as they see this opportunity.
That's right.
And the big players in the fintech space like Google, who is adopting.
The Ripple guys once did this project which was shut down called Codius. It sounds very similar to Criplets. Is it some of the same ideas, or how did they differentiate?
Yeah, Codius heavily influenced the first approach. Well, actually, the second approach. The first approach was for contract Criplets. So how do we pull logic out of the smart contract while keeping all the goodness of smart contracts in the blockchain? Codius was, how do you do secure attested oracles? And so when we looked at Codius, I talked to the guys at Ripple, and it was abandoned because it didn't have the ability to scale this, right? They weren't a massive worldwide cloud provider to stand up this infrastructure. And said, hey, I think we could probably deliver something like this. We don't have the hardware yet, but it's coming, and let's go ahead and build the infrastructure such that there's a lot of people that have value to inject in these systems and give them a platform for exposing Oracle-type behaviors in a cryptlet that then enterprises are comfortable consuming. Because you could have the best Oracle in the world, but if the enterprise doesn't trust you, they're not going to use it. So how do we empower the smaller innovators and the software partners that we have and marry them up to these large enterprises that want their capabilities but don't know how to? We can't have that marketplace to bring them together.
One of the first banks that Ripple signed, so today we have a product in market that's, we're releasing version 4. When we launched version 1.0, which is always an exciting time for a tech company, you release a product, it's version 1.0. We launched that product, we were partnered with one of the largest banks in the Middle East, and we went to market, and we went live. And we had a call from a very upset Middle Eastern banker saying, wait a minute, people can see my transactions. I don't want people to see my transactions. So look, blockchain is powerful and a public ledger can be leveraged to make transactions, but banks, I mean, if every SCB transaction was written to a public ledger, would SCB be excited about that? The answer is no, I'll tell you very certainly. The nature of how we have evolved our technology, yes, some of it, XRP is a public open ledger. A different part of Ripple's technology that connects banks to the liquidity solutions, these are private, think about it almost as a private temporary blockchain between two banks that's cryptographically signing the transaction, holding it in escrow and releasing it at the same time, so you never have a situation where a transaction doesn't complete. But the point I would make is, those who espouse this idea of, look, all transactions should be open, I look at that and I think, that is not the real world. We can talk about the origins, particularly around Bitcoin, and to some of the degree other tokens, has been this idea of, hey, we're going to circumvent governments. We don't want the government involved. We're going to circumvent banks. Look, Ripple, we come at it from exactly the opposite point of view. Governments aren't going away. By extension, banks are definitely not going away. We can enable banks to enable an internet of value. If you want to enable an internet of value, you have to connect the repositories of value. The repositories of value are the banks. We want to work with the banks, with financial institutions, with payment providers, with Linlen Pay or PayPal or fill in blank, to dramatically accelerate the nature of how payments occur today and reducing that friction.
I don't think so. There is a problem we are trying to solve. Look, anything is a problem till you figure out a better way of doing stuff, right? So we are looking at new value propositions rather than a specific problem which we need to solve. Well, we live in a days of instant gratification. You won't wait 5 seconds for a web page to load. Why would you wait 3 days for a payment to settle? So let's go real time. The world is moving real time, so should payments and other forms of settlements. Well, we have had two use cases with Ripple. The first one was on trade finance, where we tried to solve the problem of duplicate invoice financing under the codename TradeSafe, in which we collaborated with DBS and IDA, the Singapore sovereign. The second use case is on cross-border payments. So we want to make cross-border payments real-time, instantaneous, with full transparency. So these are the two use cases we are working on. Well, if you're trying to innovate, you should do it with a fresh mindset. Business cases are so old. I mean, why would you need a business case to do something which is so exciting, so fantastic? So yes, you need to have a business case, but it should be more in terms of what value propositions are you going to bring to your clients, rather than how much money am I going to spend and how much money am I going to make. So we went with that mindset. So rather than hard numbers, we focused on our clients, we focused on the value proposition, and guess what? We just did it. The GPSE is a group of 6 banks. We have all come together to discuss the rule set, the standards, and the legal framework of Ripple payments. It is definitely a must-have because we are entering into a brave new world, and we need some standards against which we all are going to work. So, extremely critical committee, extremely critical group, and once we set the standards and the legal frameworks, then off we go and implement Ripple throughout our network.
I think I'd also have to highlight some of the additional features of our ledger, which not a lot of people know about, but it has a lot of advanced features to provide for security that you can't, that competing systems typically don't have. Like, I'll give you one example. Let's say I had a Bitcoin address that I had publicly announced to people. I said, hey, you want to send me money, send it to this Bitcoin address. And let's say I don't want to deal with the Bitcoin system, I just want to let Stefan, turn that into dollars and deposit into my account. What I have to do is I have to give Stefan my private key. There's in practice no other way I can let Stefan manage it. And now let's say I don't want to use Stefan anymore. Maybe he's charging more than I'm willing to pay. He has a competitor who's charging less. What do? I have to go to all the people I've given the Bitcoin address to and give them a new one, or I have to give somebody else the secret key that Stefan also has. It's a real management problem. The XRP ledger has key rotation and multi-sign built in, and you can change the properties of your account without having to move your funds or changing the address that people send money to. We have a distributed, decentralized exchange. It's the largest one on the planet, about the equivalent of about 300 million Japanese yen a day in volume on this decentralized exchange. You can create arbitrary assets on the ledger. So I think if you look objectively at the advantages and the features that we have, I think you definitely see the advantages of building on the XRP ledger and using XRP as an asset.
Yeah. I think they absolutely want much better digital currencies. Yeah, they want it.
Yeah, and you can't give 7 billion people Bitcoin accounts because it's just too slow. But they can use crypto. Well, not a distributed ledger that's global. That will not work. And it's because of the whole nature of the concept of Bitcoin, which is like gold, which is a thing that you have to mine, and you have to track it from point to point to point. And supposedly you have to keep track of it, and all these computers, it already takes as much computing power to do one transaction or it takes as much electricity as a household uses in a day, and this is for a very small portion of the money supply. But I would say that the whole cryptography idea is great, and what has come off of blockchain is great. But the first generation of this model is not going to work. The banks themselves are not looking at blockchain. Well, Satoshi Nakamoto never used the term blockchain, so it's not really clear what a blockchain is. But they looked at blockchain at first, meaning a distributed ledger that was global, and they decided that it was too slow. And so now what they're using is something they're using Ripple, which is a series of blockchains or a series of ledgers, which is what banks do anyway. They clear ledgers within their own bank, and then at the next level they clear them at the level of the Federal Reserve, and at the next level they clear them through the SWIFT system. So this cryptography that they're looking at and using and liking is very efficient. It's good for everybody. It's cheaper. You don't have to have all these middlemen. But it is not literally a universal distributed ledger, which actually won't work.